Don't think I had emotional gut punch on Welcome to Derry's bingo card this weekend, but here we are. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The 7th episode of the prequel series, Welcome to Derry, is here. It is called The Black Spot, and it is a very painful, harrowing episode. It is clear that this entire season was built around this episode, this linchpin, this sequence that sort of occurs in this episode. This was the bread and butter of why they even did this series. And it also explains why we sort of slow walk the dog in certain aspects, but a lot of it dealing with the racial tensions that exist in this time. That is why Hank and Leroy are so prominent. The black spot becomes a big sort of, it's the key point to all of this. And it is executed amazingly. It also shows why we sort of spend some time with each of the pairings of the kids, because there is an emotional beat that happens in this episode that took me for a loop. Although I should have been prepared, because at the beginning of this season, they said F them kids. And so we should have known that no one at any point in time in this show, no matter how attached you get to them, is ever going to be safe, especially if you're dealing with an entity like Pennywise. It's a ride. We start off, though, sort of getting the explanations to why this entity has chosen Pennywise as its main manifestation. Sort of what I said in the last review episode. I think it's because I thought it was because Pennywise had an attachment to kids. Kids sort of gravitated towards the clown. And so we sort of see that sequence and how this manifestation sort of like, okay, kids like you. I need kids because they're the most fearful. I'm going to use this. And that's kind of what happens here. So we see Ingrid and her Pennywise 1.0, the true dad, the true version of Pennywise, doing their traveling circus that they have around town. It doesn't feel like it's a kid appropriate show. It's talking about Pennywise dancing, and then it shows him being sad about his wife, who used to be Periwinkle, used to be a part of his act, dead, dancing with her, and then she goes off to Angel. It's a lot for kids. But here we are. While he's doing the show, there is clearly a spirit or a manifestation of the entity looking away, saying, okay, taking note, saying, oh, he's got these kids in the palm of his hands. I need that. Pennywise and Ingrid go back to their dressing room, sort of get dressed and kind of prepare, and they have a heart-to-heart. This is where you learn that Ingrid's mom died, so it's just the two of them. She wants to dress up like her dad, so she puts on her whole clown get up. It's like, hey, I'm here. I'm like you. And they're like, cool, when you get of age, we're going to do Pennywise and Periwinkle. And she kind of takes a moment to be like, oh, Dad, that was Mom's name. It's like, well, you can change it to whatever you want to be, but, you know, we're in it. And they have a moment. You can tell that they're very connected, and this means a lot to her. And her papa means a great deal to her. She's already lost one parent, and so this is her world. We then see, while the father is Pennywise father 1.0, he's drinking, getting a little reprieve. Out of the bushes comes the entity to sort of say, hey, children seem drawn to you, which is a weird thing for a random, he's manifesting as a kid. So he comes out of the bushes as a kid and says, children seem drawn to you, which is a wild thing for a kid to say. Pennywise 1.0 clocks that. It's like, well, that's odd coming from a kid. So then he sort of averts and changes tactics to be like, all right, cool. My mom and dad are missing. And then he makes a scream happen. It's like, that was my mom. I'm in trouble. Can you come help me? To which, for a while there, Pennywise 1.1 is saying, kick rocks here. Like, I don't have time for you. But when it comes to the fact that, like, hey, the mom screaming, he knows that that's sort of a weak spot for this Pennywise, being that their wife is gone. So he plays on that. He's already playing on that then. So he takes the husband, Pennywise 1.0, into the bushes and then, kills him. Ingrid's a mess when she finally finds out because, well, she's completely alone. She's abandoned. Her mom's already gone, and now she's lost her dad. And so this shows a little bit more why the sanity snap for Ingrid is gone, because she already lost her mom, losing her dad, and in a way where she didn't get to say goodbye or see anything with him. Like this one just sort of happened suddenly. She feels completely and totally abandoned and left on her own. And so a lot of the things that she does, they don't make sense, but I can see how she got there now. Then we pick up right at the end of the last episode, which I do think it's important to have sort of had this breath to sort of show why Pennywise is who he is and why Ingrid is sort of who she is, before we go from the way the last episode ended directly into the harrowing stuff that happens in this episode. But we pick right back up, and the mob is inside the black spot, holding everybody at gunpoint. And they're like, all right, cool. We're not here to hurt you. We're not here to cause you guys any harm. We know Hank's here. So just give us Hank, and we'll go about our merry way. They clock that there's a girl that should be with them, a white girl that's in there, that they're like, shame on you, and have her leave. Mind you, I don't know, because they're so small, I don't clock if they ever see that the kids are there. Like Rich is behind on the drum set. They can't see him. And I think because Will and Ronnie are there, even if they did clock them, they don't care. But Rich, being Hispanic, probably doesn't mean much to them either. But Marge is there, which means that there is at least one kid that is white that they would sort of recognize to be there. I just don't think they see the kids. But I also don't think that they care, because this turns left real fast. They go in, ask for for Hank. They're like, we don't know what you're talking about. Hank's not here. And they're like, stop playing. And then Dick comes out to sort of be like, hey guys, we're just a military place, having a good time. This has been commissioned. We've been told that we could have this place. And then Hank comes out, sort of throwing all of that to the wolves. And Dick is under the impression, like, Hank, why did you do that? Because we could have had enough of nobody here came legally, so we would have at least had some time to say, well, let them get a warrant. But Hank comes out because he doesn't want anybody else here to get hurt. I'm like, cool. Hank's about to go with them. And they're like, nah, Hank, you're not going to go with them. You're going to stay right here, because we got guns too. And they all pull out their guns. So we have like a Mexican sort of standoff. I hate that term, but that's the best way to sort of describe it. They're tit for tat. And then the airmen are like, our guns are legally issued. Like these are military weapons. Can you say the same for yours? And have a moment where it looks like it's about to get tense. A major gunfight's about to happen. And then the mob says, okay, cool. Say less. We're going to go ahead and take off. And then they leave. Immediately, Dick's like, well, what are you doing? Because now what do we do next? We got to find a way out, because they're not done. They're going to return back. And one of the airmen tries to go open up the front door to see if they're gone, and they can't get out. Barricaded. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing Molotov cocktails set on fire coming through the windows into the black spot, and carnage just happens. It is. If you're a human, it's rough to watch. It's definitely rough to watch as a black man. While this is a fictional story and a fictional moment, it is something that 100% occurred in these times. You think of the Black Wall Street stuff that happened, that was sort of recreated in The Watchmen. Like, this is a real-ish type of thing that had happened, and the lack of care and lack of humanity that sort of exists for these people, and the lack of justice. And even if Hank did do what they think he did, this isn't the way to go about it. But yeah, they're setting everything on fire. The place is ablaze. In addition to that, they are also firing bullets through the black spot, like left and right, all over. They're just shooting left and right. Be damned. This is why I said the kids things, like, oh, they don't care that they're killing kids or not. And let me talk about the technical aspect of it before I get to the emotional aspect of it. This is shot amazingly, because they do a thing where it's almost like a oneer. It's cut together, it's spliced together. There's cheap tricks to sort of stitch it all, but it's done almost like a one shot, where you're watching all of this carnage sort of happen in real time, and we don't ever take a moment to cut outside of the black spot. Not for a minute. It happens, but it happens after a lot of the carnage has occurred, which just makes you feel, as an audience member, a lot more claustrophobic and like living in the scene with the characters as much as they are. And it's It's a well shot piece. Emotionally, there's a lot happening. You're seeing people's faces get ripped off by bullets. You're seeing the kids freak out, like, "Oh my god, I can't find my dad." Ronnie's trying to find Hank. Will's trying to find his people. It's a lot that is going on in there. It is hands down for me, with all the scares that have happened in the sewers and all of that stuff. This for me is the scariest moment of this entire series, which it should be for most because it's probably the most realistic horror that sort of happens in this series. So while we're in this black spot, everything's happening. Fire is happening. Bullets are falling all over the place. Dick is there now, and he's starting to see a lot of the dead. And it's freaking him out. But the dead is also helping him. It's guiding him to find things. So we're sort of starting to get the manifestations of the Dick Halloran that we get in The Shining, who is using the dead to sort of help him do things. That's sort of what happens here, and it helps him find sort of an opening where they can kind of open up a fridge and open up the floorboards underneath to escape and get out. So he has someone help him with the fridge, and that person gets shot immediately. And then Dick starts seeing more dead people. And then the big bad shows up into the spot. So the spot is nuts. It's already having the mob that is happening outside happening. It then has Pennywise show up inside the black spot and start just feasting on people left and right, who are obviously in complete terror. Like if you're thinking of a fear, like a big fear party to have, this is the way to have it. And so Pennywise this is his moment. This is his cleansing, as the Native American tribe would say. This is his final feast of the year. It's happening here. Pennywise and Dick sort of have a one-off, like, oh, you see them all these dead people. They're all here. Like he is backed by all of these. It's a terrifying shot of seeing Pennywise in the fire with with the bodies behind him. While that is going on, I think the saddest point of the entire episode, entire series for me, is because he's sort of been the heartbeat of it all, is Rich and Marge. Ronnie and Will are able to escape out the passageway that Dick is found. So they escape. They get Hank out. So they're all escaped and all fine. They can't find Marge or Rich. Rich says, "Hey, there's this thing that if we both get inside of it, we'll be fine. We'll be able to protect." And Marge's like, "This doesn't look big enough for him." It's like, "Trust me, it is. We'll be fine." And then he puts her inside of it and he closes it. And his whole goal was to be like, "Nope, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to lay on top of this thing and make sure that you are okay." And Marge's like, "What are you doing? Like, get in here." She's like, "Nope, not an option." Closes it up. He sacrifices himself for her. He goes back to his like, "Hey, remember, Jesus, remember when you said that I was a knight? Well, this is what knights do. In addition to just peeing in jars by the side of the bed, it's also to protect the fair maiden. You are the fair maiden." And he goes on to say that how he remembers the first time that he met her, and how everybody was laughing at him except for you. You just came out, and I was staring at you. You were wearing. He specifically tells what she was wearing, and Marge is like, "Oh crap, you remembered all of that?" And he's like, "You told me to take a picture. It lasts longer." And you said it in a way, but it wasn't a mean way, and it wasn't a hurtful way, but it was just like, "Oh," and I didn't know what the hell that meant. But once I realized what it meant, I was like, "Oh yeah, I want to, like, I want it to last longer. I want to see you all the time." Oh boy. Yeah, the kid is pouring his heart out to this girl while he's also saving her life. And he does a thing where he sort of kisses the corner of the box that he has her in. He's like, "No, I got you. I'm gonna protect you." And then they both say that they love you. And like normally I'd be like, "Oh, these are kids. They don't know what love is." But I think in this moment, yeah, that was real. Like they do. Um, Heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I was already going through a lot of just emotional stuff this week just because of life. Good things. Um, this did not help. I was already a sensitive mush. This was like, oh crap, not Rich. Not Rich. He's the one kid that I actually truly 100% love. Like he's great. And that's what makes him work. He has no real, he's the good one. He didn't have any real fault. He was always like, "I'm going to back you up. I'm going to do this." Lily, like, all right, she's a bit crazy. Sometimes doing some selfish things. Ronnie also in that sort of same boat. Marge was also at faults. Will was probably the second in line. That's why the two of them click so much. But Will being I'm going to just go ahead and do my own thing. Rich was the one, sort of the North Star of like, oh, they all sort of should have been behind. He's a heart of this Losers Club 2.0. And yeah, it hurts. The mob decides to disperse. One, to not be there when stuff is happening, but two, because they think, hey, there's no way anybody has survived this. Like even if they were alive, we took care of everybody. So they all leave except for one car. One car can't get started. It's Stanley, Ingrid's husband. He can't start the car. So he's trying to do his thing, and then Ingrid shows up in her complete periwinkle outfit, all clowned up. And Stanley's like, Ingrid, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, you look nuts. And she's like, this is my true essence. This is my true form. You've never really seen me. This is who I am. And then she says, Papa? And then Pennywise shows up behind Stanley and completely decapitates him, just cuts his head off. It's definitely CG, but it works in the moment because you're like, oh, that was immediate. Like, okay, cool. It's at that point that Ingrid says to Pennywise, like, I did all of this with you. I set all of this up. I knew all the kids would be here. I knew Hank would be here. Which is amazing because for someone to feel abandoned, Hank was kind of there for her. And she's like, no, my end goal, I don't care how much you were there for me. The person who's truly there for me is Papa. She sets all of that up. It's like, I just wanted to have this fear thing because I knew this would bring you back out and I'd be able to see you. And here you are. And for her, she reverts back to a kid and she's like, all I want for you to do is to tell me that I did good. To which Pennywise, the entity, Pennywise 2.0, hugs her, pats her on the back like, whew, you did good. You did good. But then he says, now I must rest. I must rest now. To which she's like, well, hold on. No, that's not going to work for me. And as he's about to turn around to leave, she grabs his arm. It's like, don't abandon me. Because she feels like, hey, you just left me. Don't abandon me again. To which Pennywise is like, he gives her that look. It's like, don't put your damn hands on me. I could end you. Like, I'm using you as a means, but for now, I'm going to need you to back the hell up off me. And it's at that point that when Ingrid sees the look that this version of Pennywise gives her, it's not a look that her father would have given her. She's like, oh, wait, you're not my dad. Like, you're not Papa. Like, you're something else. What are you? What did you do to him? And then Pennywise is like, oh, I ate your dad. Oh, I ate him. He was delicious. I tore him up. He lives inside of me. And he keeps coming up, trying to touch his daughter and say hi to his daughter. And it's at that point that he puts her in a trance. He does the whole open up the mouth, beam of light, and just trances her to death. Got her off of her feet. And yeah. And then he goes to go take a nap. He's got the itis. You know, if anybody's heard it, this is funny. I always like to say this about Pennywise. He eats so much and he gets that itis. And he's got like, I got to sleep this off like 20-something years. 27 years, I'm going to be out. Y'all got this from here. We then see the aftermath of the fire. The folks come in to clean it up. They get Marge out of her box, and she gets out and then sees Rich, and he mourns Rich. And then Ronnie comes, and they mourn Rich. And then Will shows up, and they sort of mourn about Rich all together. While they're outside getting kind of oxygen for the fire and stuff, Ingrid is being carted off. She looks to be in a sort of trance state, but her eyes are still moving. We're getting to the point where we're going to see her in the Stephen King the chapter 1 and chapter 2 version, where she's just in that house looking nuts. We see how she got there because of this mess. Leroy and Charlotte then show up to arrive and check in on Will and see what the hell happened here. While they're checking in, Leroy gets pulled off by one of his fellow officers to go check on Dick, because Dick's in a bad way. Dick's just seeing dead people all around. He's seeing all the dead people that just came out of this black spot, and they're all just talking. It's a lot. It's consuming him. Charlotte gets pulled off by the kids because they're like, yeah, we got to hang out. Like, he's good. You need to come this way. Well, Leroy is talking to Dick. Dick is like, Pennywise is gone. Like, I don't feel him. I don't sense him around anymore. It's like he's gone into hibernation. Like, he's off. Like, I don't feel it. And then while that's happening, people are sort of figuring out what to do with Hank. The news is starting to spread that Hank's dead. So it's a little easier to hide Hank now because they all think that he's already off the board. They talk about the falling that occurred at the black spot. They're like, yay, Stanley. They're like, oh, the good butcher, he died. Boo. But Hank, he's dead. Yay. And that's how they sort of report this news out to the masses. Again, justice means nothing in this city. It's at that point that we see Rose with her crew, her Native Americans, and saying like, all right, well, I think we're good. We're in the clear. It has gone back to its slumber. It is resting. It has done what it's supposed to do. And we now can sort of be at peace for the next few years. They sort of get the backstory. They're like, oh yeah, 23 are dead at the black spot. 17 souls were taken in this entire sort of run that we have with Pennywise as far as the kids go. And so, yeah, ate a little bit more, but I think we've been able to contain it as much as we can. So the kids and Charlotte get Hank back to Leroy's place. They get back to Leroy's place, and Charlotte thinks of like, "Hey, let's put you in some military garb. Like Leroy's not here. Let's put you in some of his garb because the people, the neighbors here, they think you're dead. They think the Hank version of you is dead, but they'll think you're my husband." And Hank's like, "I don't look anything like Leroy." And Charlotte's like, "To the people here, doesn't matter. You a black dude in the military. They don't think you're my husband." And Hank's like, touche, understood. Yeah, that's how this world sort of works. There is no difference. They're like, all you black people look alike and all you guys are the same. They're not going to do the extra work to put that in. It's also at this point, because it's important to know why Will ends up by himself. Charlotte tells Will to stand down because Will wants to go tell Rich's parents what sort of happened to him and present some of his stuff. Like he knows the rest of the crew is doing that. And she's like, nope, all the people, you stay right here. You don't get to do that. And mind you, they're at the house now because Leroy got from Dick that the entity is asleep. So they're like, all right, it's cool to go back home now. So that's why they're at home and they just leave Will at the house by himself, not to go out and see the rest. But thanks to the dead war chief, Dick who's now seeing, who sort of helped him out of the fire. He now knows where one of the pillars is that's been sort of been keeping Pennywise locked into this sort of area of Derry. And then they go dig it up. And because they go dig it up, they're about to take it back. And Leroy kind of is like, well, hold on. Aren't we supposed to be moving in? Like, we're going to take this and move it in so that we're closing in the circle. And they're like, no, we're going to go back and take it to the offices and test it and see if maybe we can find out where the other pillars are so we can kind of get to a better sense of this. And Leroy's like, okay. But he completely calls BS on this the whole time. He calls BS because they're doing it in a point where you're now leaving a section of Derry open. Like you're just basically taking the barn door off and just opening it up and not putting anything back there to place it. And he's like, that doesn't make sense. Like what you're doing, even if you think that that's the case, you would at least try to find the other ones first and close in. Like we're leaving a big gaping hole here. Like, so what? Daniel is watching because he's supposed to sort of be on watch. He sees this and is like, oh no, this ain't right. I got to go back and tell Auntie Rose immediately. So he runs back to tell her that. While that is happening, Charlotte is using her, hey, if you need a friend line that Rose gave her much earlier in the season to say, hey, I got Hank with me. We need to get him out of here. And Rose, all right, cool, come on in. Let's figure this out. That's when Daniel comes to tell him, like, yo, we got a problem. Because stuff is getting real. So back at the military base. Now, mind you, all of this military stuff, I think, is probably the most ham-fisted piece of the season. It happens because we need to find a way to kind of keep Pennywise going, but it feels so like I could almost do without the military piece and just focus on the kids and the black spot and all that without having to do this. But you gotta have to have the story to sort of make all of this work. That said, we're watching the military do what they can to sort of burn. They're planning to destroy this pillar. Their goal is to open up the gates of hell and just let it be out. Leroy comes and is like, hey, put him at gunpoint. Like, hey, stop all this. What's going on? Like, y'all about to cause hell. Let's go ahead and put this back where it's supposed to be. Guns get drawn on everybody. And then Shaw shows himself and like, hey, everybody's guns down. Leroy, come chat with you for a minute. And it's in this back and forth chat that Leroy learns that Shaw is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as well. Everybody's nuts here. His idea is not to weaponize Pennywise. It's to, well, in a way it is actually, but not to entrap it and keep it and use it. It's to open it up and just let it be the kind of the first line of defense. He knows that, hey, once you cause this mass hysteria, this mass piece of fear, peace sort of happens. They're like, look, after the black spot, everybody was so nervous, but now there's no crime. Everybody's peaceful. Everybody's happy. The streets are calm. You need sort of this cleansing of fear and anger and hate to happen to sort of cleanse and sort of let everything be peaceful. And so I want to do that to the world. Let this entity, don't keep it just a Derry, let it cleanse everything else. And Leroy's like, are you nuts? Like, you're going to get kids killed, women killed, like left and right. And Shaw's like, kids die in auto accidents every day. Like, That's a normal way of life. So he is very much of a few cracked eggs need to occur to make everything sort of be blissful, calm, and peaceful. So Leroy pulls a gun on Shaw. Everybody's pulling a gun on each other in this, but it doesn't work because some other officer gets a drop on Leroy, and he tells him, "Hey, go home, leave, go back to the airbase, and we'll take it from here." So then they destroy that piece. They set the pillar into the fire, which triggers Pennywise, who is completely in slumber, sleeping, to wake up a little bit earlier because he's like, "Wait a minute, hold on. I know I said I was going to sleep, but somebody left the barn door open. Let me go ahead and kill me another one." So the episode ends with Will getting a phone call at home. Remember, he's home by himself. He's at Derry, not at the airbase. He's home by himself. Answers the phone, and it's Ronnie, who's kind of like going on like, "Oh, I'm so sad. Rich is gone. Yada yada yada." And then as it goes along, it starts turning into Pennywise's voice, and Pennywise is like, "Oh, cool. I'm coming to get you. Like you are. I'm coming to get you." And then Will's like, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid." He's like, "Oh, you should be." And then all of a sudden, we see Pennywise actually in the house with him. Still, he came right from literally his sleep because he's still up to his chin down in blood. And he puts Will in a trance. It looks like to abduct him. Doesn't look like he's ready to eat him, but yeah, that's what occurs. And that is the episode. From top to bottom, this is hands down the best episode of the season. It is heartfelt, scary, painful, emotional. It takes you on the roller coaster ride. Outside of the military stuff, which is important to keep the story going along, I think this is hands down a pitch perfect episode. And as a penultimate episode before we get to the finale is going to have a lot to hold up to based on what the goodness of this episode did. But I'm excited to see what happens next. We're clearly going to get to the end of this because we know that it's only 8 episodes. But I think what's important is that we don't know who lives. Although, except for Will, we do know that Will lives because in some way or another, his family is a part of chapters 1 and 2. So we know they have to have a kiddo at some point. So Will's the only person who I know is safe. Everybody else, yeah, all bets are off. All bets are off. And so it should be interesting to see what we get in this final run with a more loose Pennywise. Now, obviously, as we know with chapter 1 and 2, he gets self-contained back to Derry. And so some of these things is a little bit of a problem with with the prequel stuff, is that yes, the prequel series is telling me stories that I sort of am learning and how things kind of came around, but we know he doesn't really get beyond Derry. So even though this whole military, which is why the military thing isn't quite working for me, we open up that spot. It's basically to just get Pennywise back on the board after his sleep. Less about him escaping beyond Derry because we know that's not happening. What did you guys think about the 7th episode of Welcome to Derry called The Black Spiders? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.